Good morning, everyone. What a great Friday in Nashville, Tennessee. You know, the vibe in Nashville is great. People love living here. The prosperity is building and the vibe is great. And today we're here to talk about supporting a topic that's going to help keep that vibe great. Couple of things I wanted to mention as we get started. My name is Ralph Schultz. I'm the CEO of the Chamber, but the Vice Chair of the coalition that we're announcing today. First of all, I wanted to mention a couple of important facts. First of all, in the Nashville Next survey, what's the #1 issue that the residents of Nashville feels needs to be tackled to improve our quality of life in this area? It's transit and transportation. The Rockefeller Foundation did a poll in Nashville to find out the level of interest of the community in bus rapid transit. What do you think they found out? 77% of the voters in Nashville support bus rapid transit. 74% of our membership at the Chamber want to expand mass transit, and incredibly, 66% want to increase funding to mass transit. That sounds like a need that people realize needs to be fulfilled. So today we're here to announce the formation of a coalition to advance the cause for the AMP and bus rapid transit. We are a coalition that is truly broad-based, and we share a common passion, and that is creating a transit strategy for this community that works now and works for the future. It is a strategy that will unleash opportunity for all of our residents, all of our businesses, and also, importantly, all of our visitors. It will keep our city moving. I am proud to serve as the vice chairman, and in a moment, I'm going to introduce to you our chairman and a representative of a grassroots organization that we're working with in the coalition to help build the momentum around the AMP. We also have a number of other special guests that I'd like to introduce. Mayor Carl Dean is here, and Mayor, thank you for your leadership on this issue. We'd also like to recognize Jeff Yarbrough. Where is Jeff? Jeff, do we see? Jeff is here, or he will be here. And he is the chairman of the Metro Transit Authority, which is leading the effort to create the AMP. And I'd also like to recognize Freddie O'Connell, who's an MTA board member who's been very involved in this project. And right now, I'd like to ask Freddie to come up here and share a few thoughts with us. Freddie? Welcome, Freddie.
Thank you, Ralph, and thanks to everyone who is here. It's great to have this be the way to kind of wake up and start the morning. My name is Freddie O'Connell. I chair the Planning and Marketing Committee for the Nashville MTA. I can't tell you how excited all of us are who have been working on this project for some time to see the formation of the AMP Coalition. Today, as we look at our city, clearly one of the most important issues we face is transit. Ralph mentioned Nashville Next, but we have seen the same thing time and time again from the early in Mayor Dean's administration. The Green Ribbon Committee showed the same thing. And we're lucky because Mayor Carl Dean understands the importance of this issue. That's actually why I like to refer to him as the mobility mayor. Actually, Mayor Dean foresaw the need for change in his campaign for mayor in 2007, suggesting that considering rapid transit would be important for Nashville. MTA's own strategic planning process in 2009 revealed both demand and need for improved transportation infrastructure. After a good deal of study and analysis, it was recommended that the first leg of this new system be along the most central corridor in our region, the east-west corridor that runs from East Nashville through downtown and out to West End Avenue. This is really the spine of our transit system, so it makes perfect sense to begin transformative transportation improvements there. But even more importantly, an analysis of the corridor shows that the development that is coming along this route is going to be dramatic, and the density that creates is going to lead to gridlock along this corridor in a very short time if we don't do something about it. Think about that. All the engineering studies show that if we keep driving our cars and don't take steps to address this issue now, gridlock on West End is guaranteed. And let's face it, West End isn't getting any wider. So the Metro Transit Authority recommended the route because it was where the need was urgent, where the opportunity was greatest, and the catalyst for future improvements to our transportation system would be most effective. Then our MTA planning staff worked with an outside engineering firm which conducted a broad array of public meetings seeking input to determine the best type of rapid transit to use in this corridor and what's best for Nashville. They looked at a lot of alternatives: commuter rail, light rail, urban trolley cars, which are all attractive but also very expensive options. They also looked at less expensive options, including increasing our existing bus service and the lightweight type of bus rapid transit we're already using, BRT Light, on Gallatin Road and Murfreesboro Road. I think Nashville's MTA's existing service works very well for many riders, but given that those buses would be traveling in traffic, which will be approaching gridlock in this corridor, the decision was made to select the middle option, which is known as Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT. We call it the AMP. The AMP vehicles will travel in dedicated lanes, not in mixed traffic, so they will move a lot faster than the traffic around them. This is, to me, a reference standard for smart growth. We're re-engineering existing roadway to allow a new dedicated mode of transit that can be shared by existing buses and emergency vehicles. We're preserving travel lanes for motorists, and we're creating extraordinary potential for a return on public investment dollars. So we've chosen the route and the type of rapid transit we will deploy. Now we're preparing to send our request for funds to the Federal Transit Administration. The next, and we hope final stage of the engineering and design work is scheduled to start in November, so the timing for today's announcement is perfect. I also want to mention that there are a lot of people who are becoming very interested in this project, both those who are raising questions and concerns about it, as well as those who can't wait to ride it. There's also growing interest from people who are just now learning about the AMP project and want to learn more. The good news is that the next phase of engineering and design is about to begin, and that will be the time when we fine-tune the details of this project. We're only 30% of the way done. We've got 70% left to go, and we'll create a system that will best serve transit riders and those who will continue to use their cars. I know the mayor is committed to building a transit system that will keep the entire corridor working long into the future, as is everyone involved in this project. And we're delighted to have the AMP Coalition with us now to participate in the public dialogue. So thank you again, and remember, if anyone asks, AMP yes.
Thanks, Freddie. When's the last time you experienced such thunderous applause?
Probably yes.
Look, while we're referring to this large group of people that are out here, would you turn to the person next to you and thank them for being here to support this important effort? Just do that. Thanks, Freddie. I love you, man. That's a lot of enthusiasm on the thank yous. Randy Rayburn was particularly emphatic with his thank yous. Yeah. We also want to note the presence of Ed Cole as well, the head of the Transit Alliance for the region, working on this issue on a regional basis. And one of the great things about what Freddie said was that Nashville's found this solution that works for Nashville, and that's one of the great things about Nashville. It's the Nashville way. We don't look for the most expensive. We don't look for the least expensive. We look for the solution that makes the most sense for this community. And that emphasis, Freddie, is really important, so thank you again. So we're here today to announce the formation of a new organization, the AMP Coalition, which is going to get involved now in the public discussion about the importance of the AMP and the greater need for a rapid transit solution for the Nashville area. Will be educational, and we will provide a great opportunity for people who want to be supportive to engage constructively to deliver that support. When we put out a call, a group of us got together and said we need to form a coalition to support the AMP. When we put out the call to ask people who are going to be a part of this, we got a lot of enthusiastic response. Part of that enthusiastic response is directly related to the person who will now address you as chair of the AMP. He's a very persistent and persuasive guy, and we are lucky to have Dr. Mike Schatzline serve as the chairman of the AMP Coalition. He's the CEO of St. Thomas Health. He oversees a growing healthcare enterprise here in Nashville. He has at least 2 of his operations right along the route of the AMP, and he's very active and engaged in this community. For Mike, the AMP is not only good for the city, it's also good for business. So would you welcome to the podium the chairman of the AMP Coalition, Mike Schatzline.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm going to go off script for just a second. Just imagine coming here with me this morning in my car, coming up Granny White, coming through 12 South, coming through the Gulch, seeing the development that's gone on there, looking off to the left at the Frist, moving on down, seeing Music Center, the Music City Center, the Skirmerhorn, this beautiful building, the Country Music Hall of Fame. This city, those things are there because our forebears thought ahead. This is a city where if you think back even to 1960 when city-county government, into the 60s when city-county government came into being here, our forefathers were thinking ahead. And so it's incumbent upon us, I think, to emulate them and to keep this city the great and growing city that it is. This is a happening place. So I'm pleased to be here to announce the formation of the coalition. I want to thank all the supporters who have been here to show their support and who have joined us prior to here. And let's give all our supporters a round of applause. That's each of you, by the way. Thanks especially to the steering committee. They've done great work already, and they're poised today to shift into a higher gear. This is going to be a great group to be a part of because we believe that Nashville is going to be even greater in the future because of the forward-looking decisions we make today. This, the AMP, is the right thing to do, and now is the time. As Ralph said, we need for everybody to be able to move about our city freely in order to realize our potential. And building the AMP is the first step in the next phase of making that happen. I work with a lot of great people at St. Thomas Health. Many of them use public transportation to get to work. And I would use public transportation to go back and forth between St. Thomas Midtown and St. Thomas West, and can hardly wait to be on that inaugural trip. The opportunity for travel on the AMP is truly exciting. What it's so hard to really get your mind around is that while what we're experiencing on West End today is bad, we can't count on the status quo continuing. It's going to get exponentially worse. There will be a lot more occasions in the coming years when cars will sit through multiple stoplights without moving. If you're riding a regular bus, you're going to be sitting in those same traffic jams. So the advantages of public transit as we know it today won't be as great. But the AMP won't be stuck in that traffic. It'll move along dedicated lanes, avoiding and relieving that congestion. And that's going to increase its convenience and attractiveness for a lot of people who never thought about riding public transit before. That's why this project is truly transformative. The project is going to change the way we all think about how we get around in our city, and it's going to have a positive economic impact as well. In fact, a new study just released this week shows that relative modest investments in cities like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and Eugene, Oregon are resulting in new transit-oriented developments that are having a huge economic impact. Property values go up near transit, retail sales go up near transit. Young people want to live and work near transit. In the meantime, we have a lot of work to do to make the entire community aware of the important benefits that will happen because of the AMP. There's lots of education to do. We have neighbors who want to understand this better, and our job is to help them do that. One of the great things that we've found as the AMP Coalition has come together is the tremendous passion that so many people in this community have for transit. Last year, there were more than 10 million trips on MTA buses in Nashville, and that number goes up every year. Earlier this year, that survey that Ralph talked about, we're going to pound this number in, 77% of voters in this county want rapid transit. 77% of Davidson County voters support the introduction of a BRT system in Nashville. And of our chamber members, 67% support it, 64% want us to spend more money on it. Transit Now Nashville is a grassroots organization that began back in 2009. It's led the way in building support for transit in Nashville. So now let's please make welcome Kenya Stevens, one of the founding members of Transit Now, to say a few words.
Thank you, Mike. I am honored to be here and excited about the opportunity to become part of the AMP Coalition. By way of my background, thank you, I've been a strong supporter of public transit for more than 4 years now. I began riding the bus as a student at Belmont University through the Easy Ride program, which is really a great service. I know Vanderbilt and Lipscomb universities also offer this service, as well as some other large organizations in the city. I found taking the bus to be so convenient that I sold my car and rode the bus exclusively for more than a year, not just to work, but to events and activities all over Nashville. It is definitely a great way to get around. Today, I ride the bus to and from work almost every day, and I'm not alone. As Mike just mentioned, thousands of people in Nashville are riding the bus every day. The numbers are increasing, and the face of transit is changing. I see young professionals and students sharing this experience more than ever before, and I truly believe that with the AMP, this transit ridership will expand even more. We at Transit Now appreciate the opportunity to join the AMP Coalition. Transit Now is a grassroots organization with hundreds of members and a wonderful website where conversations about transit and the latest transit options are carried on every day. Many of my Transit Now friends are here today, and I'm sure they would be happy to reinforce what I'm saying. Our goal is to get as many Nashvillians as possible to join us. So if you love the idea of Nashville becoming a transit city, please join the coalition today. It's easy. All you'd have to do is go on the website to ampyes.org, where you can join the coalition and register to get email updates on the progress. You can also sign up to receive a great yard sign. Thank you. Like that. Many changes are ahead for Nashville. We're a growing city, and it's a good thing. Making our transportation system as efficient as possible for more people will be one of the most important factors in that growth and whether Nashville continues to be a great place to live. We have to get this right. The AMP is the first step in that direction, so I hope everyone will join the AMP Coalition and help Nashville take the next step in making this idea a reality. Thank you.
Thanks, Kenya. I loved hearing you speak of the support from around the community, and particularly I wanted you to know that Belmont, Vanderbilt, and Lipscomb, all three universities have signed on to be part of our coalition. We're also excited to begin working with you and everyone at Transit Now, and as Kenya said, we urge you all to support this project. Go to the website, ampyes.org, and join the coalition. You will be in good company. Speaking of good company, goes without saying that it's been the leadership of our mayor, Carl Dean, that's gotten us this far down the path toward a true transit solution. And I spoke earlier about us sort of standing on the shoulders of the giants who developed Nashville into the wonderful place that it is. And if, like me, you came here from somewhere else, and in my case, only about 3.5 years ago, you really appreciate what a wonderful city this is. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, and our children will stand on Carl Dean's shoulders in future years. And now it's time for us to hear from him. So, Mr. Mayor, please. Join us on the...
Well, thank you, Mike, and thank you, Ralph and Freddie. Thank you for the great remarks, and thank you for holding up the yard sign for the first time. It was a great thing to see. And thank you for your interest in transit in Nashville and moving our city forward. You know, mass transit is one of the most important investments we can make as a city to continue moving forward. And I appreciate the fact that this idea is supported by such an impressive group. You know, Nashville has a long history of making the right decision at the right time. As a city, we've received lots of national attention, particularly in the last 7 or 8 months. We've been called the IT City, we've been called Nowville. And as our country has become out of this recession, Nashville has emerged strong, outshining many of our competitor cities. What's important for us to recognize is that Nashville is succeeding today because for the last 20 years or more, we have been taking critical steps after critical step to ensure that we're an attractive place to build a life and to do business, a great place to raise a family, a great place to invest in. Vibrant cities are built over time and they're sustained over time. They just don't just happen. They take thought, they take action, and they take people with foresight. If we want Nashville to remain on top, then we have to keep our eye on the future. Because a city can't move forward in any regard by just blindly hanging on to the status quo. And when it comes to traffic, people need to know that it won't be the status quo no matter what we do. You may say, let's just leave everything alone, let's change nothing. Right? Fine. But the traffic will still come. You don't build the AMP, you don't take an action to affirmatively position the city to move forward, and the traffic will still come. In 5 years, West End is gridlocked, and we have done nothing. And then you turn and look at your kids and look at young people moving into the city, and they're going to ask you, where were you? Where were you when we had an opportunity to do something that would make our future better, which would make the city run and make it work? The status quo will not be preserved in traffic because we're going to grow as a region by 1 million people between now and 2035. As others have pointed out, that growth is occurring in Nashville, and we can't preserve our traffic patterns as they exist today. And that's why we need the AMP. And the AMP is something that is going to serve our citizens well. And look, you know, I try and I do ride the bus regularly. I rode the bus this morning to work. I try to ride it 3 or 4 times a week if I can. And when I'm riding the bus, it really all comes home to me. I ride on the number 7 Hillsborough, which is not going to get the AMP, but that's okay. When I ride the bus, who am I on the bus with? Well, I'm on the bus with students who are going to Vanderbilt, who are going to public high schools, who are going to private high schools. I'm on the bus with people who are going to work, who go to work on the bus because it's an economy for their family where they can get by better by having 1 car and not pay parking, because they're young and they don't want to buy a car right now because they're buying technology or they're paying student loans. I'm with people who are working in keeping our hospitals and our universities and our office buildings running all night long by cleaning them and maintaining them, and they're looking for a way to get home in an economic way. I'm with senior citizens, I'm with the young, I'm with the disabled. I mean, one group we don't talk enough about is folks who for some reason or another can't drive, whether it's an eye problem or whether it's a disability where they're in a wheelchair. This is their way to get around the city. And all of these people, because we have transit, are free to move about a great city with amenities everywhere and a growing city. And what the AMP will do will allow us to continue to doing that on a bigger level, allow us to be a city that is meeting the needs of its citizens. I mean, one of the things I think that gets lost in this discussion, in this debate, is folks don't talk about what's the plan for the people who can't afford a car. What's the plan for the young people who are paying student loans? What's the plan for the senior citizen who no longer drives, who wants to go to the symphony, who wants to go to a Predators game, who wants to go to the art museum, who wants to go downtown? What's the plan for them? What's the plan for the disabled? Well, we have a plan. We have a plan to keep this city moving, to keep this city growing, and to keep us all in this together, because it's all our city. And so from East Nashville to West Nashville, for everybody who lives in this city, the AMP is for them. And it's for building a future. Now, we know that we're a decade, literally a decade behind our competitive cities when it comes to attracting people and attracting investment. We're a decade behind in transit, behind Austin, behind Charlotte, and we need to catch up. We live in the best city in the United States, no question about it. And we didn't need the New York Times or Condé Nast to tell us. We already knew it. And we know we're in the best city because when we reach points where you make difficult positions, when you make the more progressive decisions, the right thinking position, the forward-making decision, we make the right one. And this is where we are today. And I couldn't be prouder to be with this group of people, because I know where you've been on other issues that matter to this community. I know where you've been on the issues when it comes to community unity and working together and moving forward as one city. You've been there. And this is that important of an issue. And this is, this is going to be fun. Because at the end of the day, we're going to look back at this 10, 15 years from now, sort of paraphrasing Shakespeare. We're going to be the lucky few. We're going to be the ones who stood up for what was right. We're going to be the ones who fought to move this city forward, and we're going to move this city forward. So thank you.
Wow. I think I may just sit down. We're coming up on the close. It is an exciting time for Nashville, great opportunity. Our coalition has been created to spread the word about this issue, to educate, inform, and advocate to help make this happen. So at this time, I need to ask everyone here, before I ask you to do this, I want to thank the Preds. I see a bunch of yellow around here. Isn't it nice? Jeff Cogan's around somewhere here, so thank you all for hosting this. Now I need to ask you to do three things. One, join the AMP Coalition. AmpYes.org. AmpYes.org, pretty easy, get there, you can join. Two, while you're there, Ralph, this is your cue. Okay, while you're there, sign up for one of these yard signs. Oh, yeah. Thank you. And if you want more than one, we'd be happy to accommodate you. Very good, Vanna.
And Scott Davis and Anthony Davis are here, our Metro Council people.
Scott Davis, Anthony Davis, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here. Let's have a round.
And David McCullough, the mayor of Cheatham County, is here.
These guys are sneaking in and hanging in the back. David McCullough from Cheatham County, the mayor of Cheatham County. David, you want to raise your hand? Oh, you're in the seats. Good to see you. The third thing, and maybe the most important, tell your friends, spread the word, Nashville needs the AMP. Thanks you all for being here. We'll be happy to answer some questions down here to the right of the stage. Have a good day. AMP yes. Thank you. Bye.